Hello and welcome to this quick little drill class that I've kind of put together for you if you are working on inversions or arm balances or just kind of getting yourself into some more crazy postures. So one of the questions that I get the most in terms of yoga is, how do I get my handstand? How do I get my arm balances? What am I doing wrong? Maybe I don't have the body type for it. I will tell you right now, you probably will get your handstand, your headstand, your inversion, any of these things you're working on. You just need a little bit of patience and you need a little bit of strength building. When I first started my yoga journey, it took me probably a good year before I landed a headstand, and I'm still very wobbly in it today because I don't practice it regularly. Your body is not created to be upside down, right? So our body is created to stand on 2 feet, walk around on 2 feet. Our arms are used to reach things, to pick things up. Body is not designed to hold ourselves in an upside down position. Now, it can do that, but that's not the main purpose of it, right? So in order to get to these postures in yoga, in order to be able to hold these postures and perform them, we need to build those muscles that aren't used on a daily basis to hold those postures properly and safely and solidly. So I've got a couple of drills that I'm going to teach you guys. These drills are designed for both core strengthening and a little bit of upper body shoulder strengthening, because those muscles I find are the most weak in terms of having your inversion practice or your arm balance practice. So you will probably want to have a couple of blocks. We're going to be using some blocks or some books or just something that's kind of a little bit bulky. We're probably not going to be using them to support us, but if you want to have some blocks, I would do so. And for some of our headstand stuff, I like to have a little bit of extra cushioning on the crown of my head just because my bones are really sensitive. So I have a little blanket here if you want to go get a little blanket or a towel or something, or you could even just roll over your mat to double it up to provide a little bit more cushioning for your head. So let's get started. We're going to start on our back. So we're going to start with just some core awakening. Now when I say core, I don't mean your six pack or your obliques or, you know, all those muscles that are basically from here to here. I'm talking about everything from here all the way down to below your hip joint. That is your core. That is the core of your body. So there's so many different muscles in your core, and you can research this stuff on your own time, but a lot of them, a lot of these muscles are not superficial, so they're not close to the outside of the body. You can't see them. They're deep muscles, they're deep stabilizer muscles, they're deep mover muscles of the body that oftentimes don't get worked in everyday life because our lifestyle may require us to sit all day or stand all day, and we're not really moving, we're not using these core muscles to go about our daily life. So we're going to work on a couple of these muscles. Some muscles that I'm going to focus on today is the psoas in the ilium, or the iliacus, sorry. The iliopsoas muscle. So it's technically one muscle, but it's divided into two because it attaches to two different parts. Your psoas muscle attaches to your lumbar spine, so the very, very base of your spine, and travels into your femurs. So this muscle actually helps to move your femurs up and down, to flex the legs and extend the legs. Your iliacus attaches to the ilium bones, so the two big wing-looking bones on your pelvis, and it also attaches down to your femurs. So this muscle actually helps to stabilize the femur in the hip socket. So these muscles are really important, and we don't often use them because we're sitting. So this first drill is going to help you notice them, first of all, and work on strengthening them a little bit. So we're going to come down onto our backs. So this first drill is called a toe tap. So you've probably done this in class, but maybe you didn't do it in a way that you actually felt activation of your psoas muscle. So I first want you to just lie on your back and just notice your low back. Is your low back pressing into the ground? I notice a lot of fitness style classes will say, press your low back into the ground. What this does is, first of all, it brings your spine out of its neutral alignment. So you're actually creating a flex in the low back here, which isn't bad, but it's not what we're looking for. And it also decreases the length of your psoas to your femur bone. So you're actually already creating a shortening of that muscle there, and we're not really allowing that muscle to do its full capacity. So I want you to take your hands and just place them under your low back and find that nice space. So it should be a nice quick little arch. If that's too much for putting both hands, just put one hand. Just notice how you've got this nice space. Now when you remove your hand, you should still have this nice little space underneath your spine. And then what we're going to do is pick up our legs and have them come to about a 90-degree angle. If this is too much, you can just bend your knees a little bit, maybe hold the legs. And already noticing with that arch in your back, you feel something waking up right in the crease of your hip, right where your hip basically turns into your leg, right in the hip joint. And now that is your psoas muscle. You should feel it. It should be kind of feeling a little bit tight because we're using it to hold our legs in this upright position. Now just try pressing your back into the floor. Oh, where'd it go? You don't feel it anymore because now you're using this big muscle on the front of your body, the rectus abdominis, also known as your abs, to hold you here. When you roll back with that little arch, instantly it changes. You feel that engagement, that muscle deep in your hip wake up. Okay, so if your legs are tired, just put them down for a second to rest, but we'll go into the drill. So the drill is basically keep that nice arch in your back and just drop one toe at a time, tapping the floor, noticing we might be building a little bit of heat in that hip joint. And so you can do this as many times as you want, maybe doing a set of 10, taking a rest, doing another set of 10, and just noticing when you do it at first, you might get tired very quickly because this muscle, if you don't use it very often, is very weak. But good news is you can strengthen it very quickly. Right. So that's the toe taps. You can put your feet down and just take a rest. If you want to windshield wiper your knees back and forth between these exercises, please feel free to do so. And then the next exercise is similar. So we're going to keep this shape with our little space between our backs. So you don't have to keep your hands here. If you want to put your hands out to the sides, kind of like how you would do in Shavasana, you can do so. If you want to create more of that engagement in your hips, pick the legs back up, come back into that 90 degrees. So I call this the floating chair. So what we're going to do here is similar, but a little different. We're basically just going to extend one leg and bring it back. Extend the other leg and bring it back. And so now we're just targeting a different part of the muscle, maybe a little bit more of that iliacus muscle, that stabilizer muscle to hold the leg rather than extending and flexing that femur bone. Now, if you really want to challenge yourself, you can try both legs and bring them in. Both legs, bring them in. Again, making sure to keep that space in your back. You should be feeling it right in your hip crease. Let's do one more time. And bring it in. Okay, you can bring your legs down. So those are some really good introductory drills that you can do to start to strengthen the psoas muscle, those nice deep hip flexor muscles. This is going to be key to getting that headstand because when you bring your legs up into a headstand, you're using 100% these muscles. So the next one I want to show you is a little bit more core in terms of your abdominal muscles and your deep spine muscles, and also your psoas muscles. So this, you probably know this pose. This is boat pose, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. So set yourself up for a boat pose. Now, if you can't do full boat pose, this one might be a little bit difficult for you. I'll try to provide some modifications. So start by just bringing your body to your knees. So you can already feel, ooh, since we were working on that core muscle of the hip, bringing your chest to your knees might be a little bit sore already. And so we're going to lean back just a little bit and pick the feet up. Now, you can do the drill here, or you can do the drill with your feet down, but try to have your toes lifted off the floor a little bit. So don't have all your weight on your toes. You're putting all your weight basically into your sitting bones down here. I'm going to show it this way first, and then I'll show you the modification. So holding your boat, and then we're just going to lower down to a low boat, also known as a hollow body. Draw yourself back in, draw those knees in, lower down, low boat or hollow body. Inhale, draw yourself in. Exhale, lower. Inhale, coming in. One more time, exhale, lower. And inhale, coming in. You can put those feet down if you need a break. So in this posture, you want to try to keep your spine as flat as possible as you come down. Now, this might not be entirely possible if you still have a really weak core. I still tend to round my spine when I come down, but the key is to try to keep that body nice and flat. So if you want to try it with the modified version with your feet on the floor, simply the exact same thing, just keep your feet down and just lower. Come back up. Lower, so basically sit-ups, right? But you're using different muscle group here. I mean, you're kind of using your core still, but you're also using the psoas, the iliacus. Okay? Now, if you're shaking during this, totally cool. I'm shaking during this. My muscles are not super strong. I'm still getting back into my yoga practice, so don't think that shaking muscles equals weakness. Shaking muscles equals you're using those muscles, you're learning how to use those muscles, and you're strengthening those muscles. Okay, so the last one I have for you is, again, on the back. This is just your basic leg lifts. So you can do it in two different ways. So let's just start by lengthening our back. Again, making sure we've got that nice space between our spine and the floor. If you want to have your hands on the floor next to you, or you can do what we do in a lot of fitness classes, you can do the little triangle underneath your sacrum, just for some support. So you can either do level 1, which is just simply lift the leg, put it down, lift the leg, lift the legs, maybe trying both. Or you can do level 2, which is legs already up in the air and lowering. Trying to keep that space in the low back, using just that deep core muscle. Again, both. And again, you can do 10 rounds, take a break, do some more, whatever feels right for you. All right, so those are all of the psoas kind of muscles drills that I wanted to teach you. Now we're going to move into some more upper body stuff. So let's move into a tabletop. Again, I will give you a couple of modifications for this one. Let me just grab some water. So one thing that I I've noticed with my personal practice, whenever I'm doing arm balances, I feel like my shoulders hurt a lot. And this is because I'm not creating a stable base for my upper body before I move into the arm balance. And this is created by engaging your scapula, your shoulder muscles. So your scapula needs to be engaged before you can protect the shoulder joint, because the scapula will basically anchor the shoulders so that when you're moving into your arm balances, your headstand or handstand, you're not all loosey-goosey and all this strain is not on this shoulder joint, which again is not made to hold up the body in an upside down fashion in an arm balance, but it can, right? So let's start by just working on building some strength in the scapula. And you probably do this drill maybe if you go to some vinyasa classes or any kind of faster moving classes. I'll show you first on the knees. So we're basically just going to do scapular push-ups, is what I call them. Coming into that neutral spine. Again, neutral spine doesn't mean flat or curved, it just means that neutral curvature of your spine. And you're basically just going to press into your hands until your shoulders pull apart on your back and your upper back rounds. So this is the upward level. And then to come down, you just retract the scapula so that they come together on your back and your chest dips down. Now, we're not sagging into the shoulder joint here. We're basically just drawing the shoulder blades together. But your shoulders, your deltoids, and all those muscles around the shoulder joint are still active. So you're not kind of just hanging here. You're actually actively pulling the muscles, the joints together. So pressing in to protract and then drawing together to retract. Now, as you do this a few times, you can already feel a little bit of heat building between the shoulder blades. And this is because we don't use this muscle at all in life, at all. This is your rhomboid muscle and a little bit of your trapezius muscle. So these muscles, again, unless you go to the gym and specifically work them out, don't really get worked out very much. So that is level 1. Again, you can do 10 rounds of it, whatever works for you. Level 2 is a plank version. So a little bit more, we've got a little bit more weight and a little bit more core engagement. So coming into your nice plank, again, remember, don't want to sag here and we don't want to come into like a downward dog. Nice, solid plank. Squeezing the quads, squeezing the glutes, and we're just going to do the exact same thing. So press into the hands, protract, draw the shoulder blades together, retract. You can do this a few times. Now, because we have a little bit more weight bearing onto the shoulders, you want to be really careful not to dump into the shoulders when you retract the shoulders together. Okay? Whew. That one builds a lot of heat. You want to build heat quickly? Just do scapular push-ups. If you can't even do full push-ups, just do those. You start to build that strength up in your upper back. The next one I want to show you is a dolphin hold. Again, this one is going to help you build that strength in your upper back to come into poses like headstand, handstand, pinchamayurasana, or any of those arm balances that require a lot of upper body strength. So, let's set ourselves up for a good dolphin first. When you come into a dolphin pose, you have two options. You can either have your hands together or have them apart, but you need to make sure that your elbows are shoulder distance apart. So a nice little rule of thumb, you should be able to grab both of your elbows and then just swing them out. So I'm going to come with my hands together just because I find it gives me a little bit more stability. And then let's start by coming into a plank actually. So we got that core engagement first and that nice long line. So coming into your dolphin plank, Don't have a lot of room on my mat here. So your shoulders are going to be directly over top of your elbows. Your elbows, again, are shoulder distance apart. You find that nice, strong, solid core engagement, nice protraction of the shoulder blades here. Okay, so when you find that foundation, then you can begin to pike the hips up and walk the knees in. Coming in as far as you can keep the knees nice and bent. And then keep pressing into the elbows to keep protracting those shoulders so that you can just drop the head through the arms. Now notice how my back is nice and flat here. I'm not rounding, I'm not sinking. I've got this solid engagement in my upper body. And so hold this and just find that engagement in your body. And if you want, you can come down to your knees for a little bit of a break. And I'll show you level 2 of this version. If you're working on your Pincha Mayurasana, in your peacock pose. So coming back into your dolphin, walking the feet in till you're basically right over your shoulders, or right over your elbows, and your hips are coming over your body. And then you can just pick up one foot, draw it in. If you want to lift one leg up, lift the other leg up. Again, trying to press away here. And just do that a couple times. Whew. And then rest. So that one's a pretty intense drill. Again, your upper body does not get worked that much, especially those little tiny muscles that hold all of these joints that move around. Our shoulders are extremely mobile. We can do all kinds of things with our arms. And because of that, they're also susceptible to injury, so we want to be very careful with making sure that they're nice and solid, right? So I don't want to say that you are fragile, your body is fragile. I just want to say that because these joints are not designed to hold all of our body weight, we just want to take a little bit of extra engagement, mindfulness, focus on them so that we can create a solid platform to perform these asana. Okay, let me catch my breath and we'll do the next one. So now we're going to move into some actual headstand prep here. And for this one, I'm going to move my mat right up against the wall because we're going to use the wall for this one. Okay, so the first one here is basically just a headstand prep and hold. So if you already have some experience with headstand practice, you probably already know this, you probably already do this, but I'm just going to go over it again. Let's start by going over the proper alignment of your upper body, your shoulders, your arms, your head, okay? So you want to have your arms in a bit of a triangle shape, like so. Again, you can do the arm, elbow thing, and then swing them up, and then hold on to them to create that nice, solid, triangular platform. When you come into your headstand, very, very important that 90% of your weight, 60 to 90% of your weight is resting on these forearms. So that means if you're like this, all of your weight is going to be resting on your head. You want to create a platform where you're basically resting your head higher than your elbows. Your elbows higher than your head. So you shouldn't be able to see most of my head here, which means you're going to be pressing into your shoulders. Your shoulders are going to be pressing up, which might be a cue that you are not used to because a lot of teachers say, pull your shoulders down. But we want to create that solid platform, right? So push your shoulder blades up creating that solid, solid platform. Now that doesn't mean to shrug your shoulders up to your neck like this. It just means to press, press, engage, 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 okay? Another thing I find is easiest to have your hands kind of like in a little scoop, and you're scooping the back of your head. Like think if you're just lounging back. You're not holding the back of your head like this, and you're not closed fist on your hands. You're supporting your head with your hands, okay? So that's a good way to prep, to get yourself prepped up for your headstand. So we're just gonna start by coming into a nice little hold. I like to do this one right up against the wall. So I'm gonna place my hands pretty much like 2 inches away from the wall. If you're still a little bit leery about coming up against the wall, my suggestion would be to grab a whole bunch of pillows and just prop them up all against that wall and just practice leaning yourself into the wall until you build up that confidence with your body that the wall is there and it's not going anywhere. Because it's not. It's just going to stay there and you're just going to poop, come up against the wall, right? So the first hurdle of getting a headstand is getting over that fear that you're going to flop over. And if you do it in the middle of the room, yeah, you might. But if you do it right up against the wall, well, the wall's probably going to catch you. So you just gotta get over that first little hurdle, okay? So let's set ourselves up. I like to start by doing my arms first. So start by setting up your arms. Got that nice little scoop where my head's gonna go. And then I'm gonna place my head. And my head is going to be almost on the crown of my head. But again, most of my head is resting in that nice little pocket that I've created in my hands. And before I even come up onto my toes, I start by pressing into my elbows and into my hands to create that engagement in my upper body. And I notice instantly my upper back, my traps, all the muscles along the back of my shoulders start to engage, which is great. We're making nice solid platform here. Okay, and then you can just gently lift the hips and notice how that feels. Yeah, it feels okay. Walk the feet in. How does that feel? Can you rock on the toes so that you notice that your hips coming over your shoulders and you're starting to get a little bit light on the toes? I like to just start by practicing rolling onto my big toes, and you should be able to just pick them up. Okay? And that's a good way to start. A great way to start to find that core engagement, that upper body engagement, before you even try kicking up, before you even try picking up your knees into your chest, which is what we're going to do next. So the next one I like to call like the little teddy bear tuck. So again, set up your platform, get your head in there, press into the shoulders, engage, engage, pick your hips up, come so that you've got that balance, and then maybe tuck one leg in, tuck the other leg in, tuck both legs in, and just hold, as long as you can. You're using all of those muscles that we worked on throughout the class to hold yourself here. And then come down, whoa, and just sit. Take a breath. And just notice. So you're probably feeling a little bit sore in the upper body because we haven't used those muscles. And so if this is the extent of your limits right now, totally cool. You can pause the video, stop the video, come back when you're ready. So we're going to move on. Let's do some leg lifts. So this one I find is a little bit more tricky, but it's a really great way to build that strength to get those legs up. One thing that I want to emphasize right now, please, 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 please don't kick up into headstand. Do not do it, because that force of kicking your legs up into a headstand with your neck in that precarious posture can lead to something more serious. You can just think, all that weight on your body in these teeny tiny little vertebra bones in your neck. If you kick up into headstand and something happens and you fall out, there is a potential for injury. So please try to build your headstand practice up to a point where you can come up with just your legs, and I will demonstrate that for you in this class. So we're going to do the leg lifts. So this is kind of like my level 2, getting closer to actual headstand version. Okay, so find that foundation, set your arms, press into your shoulders, create the engagement first. Pick up the hips, walk your feet in, and then just lift. Lift up. One, the other one. And then maybe you want to try picking one up and seeing if you can float that foot and hold. Woo, and then come down. Do it with the other leg. Float, and come down. When you come down out of your headstand, just go slow. Again, your body is not used to this kind of positioning. Your muscles are not used to this kind of engagement. So we just want to go slowly as to not shock the system. Your nervous system might be firing, going, oh my goodness, we're doing something weird. And if you come out really fast, you might send yourself into an overdrive. So just move slow, okay? So those are the leg lifts, and then I want to show you the pike, hold, and then we'll do the full headstand, okay? So this one here, you have to be comfortable with getting your butt against that wall. So if you're not comfortable with that yet, practice that first and then come back to this drill. I'm still a little leery about it because I know my brain likes to say, there's no wall back there, and then I freak out. So I like to touch with my foot first, and I will show you that. Start by getting set up. Find that solid foundation. Walk the feet in. And then I like to just go, oh, there's the wall. And then let my butt come to it. I'm a little bit too far away. So you actually want to be right up against the wall for this one. So I'm just going to come back in, scoot myself forward a little bit. Because unless you've got a really good hollow back headstand practice, which if you do, you probably don't need this video. You want to be right up against the wall. Okay. Okay. So once you've found the wall, come to a pike and hold. And maybe you can practice taking your butt away from the wall, coming back in, and just holding. This is pretty intense. I'm shaking here, but I'm building that strength. Okay, gently come down. Whew. Gently come out. If you want to just rest in child's pose for a second, so as to not shock your system. Whew. And then come out. So that is level 3, I think. We're at level 3. And now we will come into the full pike headstand lift. So I'll show you what that is. This is really good drills to do if you, A, want to build that strength, B, you need to warm up, because I'm really warm right now. All right, headstand with the pike legs. Please, please do this, please. If I see you guys jumping up into headstand, I will scold you like an old school teacher. Okay, get your foundation first, nice and solid. Press into the ground, engagement of the shoulders first, always important. Pick up hips,
Walk the feet in again so you feel floaty. And I will show you version 1. One leg up first, bringing up the second leg, coming into your full headstand like that. And again, the wall's behind you, so if you need to touch it to feel safe, you can do so. Coming down, you can bring one leg down first, touch, and the second, and then come down to your knees.
That's the first version. I keep fixing my hair because I keep making it all messed up. I should probably just not even bother. Second version, both legs in a pike. This version is the best version to do when you're doing a headstand in the middle of the room because you're already in that nice, solid, straight, engaged foundation so that when you come up, you're not going to overcorrect yourself. And you just kind of pick yourself up and go bloop into your nice headstand. Okay? So this is the last headstand I'm doing because I'm getting exhausted.
Okay, so put your foundation, head nice and protected, solid shoulders, press into those shoulders, into the elbows, pick your hips up, walk your feet in, and then when you find that nice lightness, both feet float up. Woo. And just keep bringing them up, 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 until you come into your headstand. Again, if you need to tap the wall, there it is. And then just hold and see how long you can hold that headstand. Try to find some engagement. Engagement in the legs, engagement in the glutes, press into the shoulders. And then when you want to come down, come into that pike and float down. Whoa. And maybe you need to rest in child's pose for a second. Catch your breath. Let your upper body stop freaking out. And then come up. All right. Oh my goodness. My hair is doing some silly thing. So that is your headstand. If you have any questions about the headstand at all, please let me know. But I would really highly encourage you to do those drills to build up to getting yourself into that place where you can just lift your legs up and down, right? So much better when you have that control to get into your headstand rather than kicking up and trying to catch yourself before you topple over, right? I'm not going to teach rolling out of headstand. I'm not going to teach headstand in the middle of the room just yet. I personally still need to build up my teaching skills in order to do that. But I feel confident teaching that version of a headstand against the wall. When you feel comfortable enough to lift your legs in a headstand, in a pike headstand without kicking, then please feel free to try it in the middle of the room. And my suggestion would be either A, try it with a mattress or a bunch of pillows or whatever in front of you. If you fall over, you just roll onto those, right? Or do it outside in the grass. I have built up so much of my confidence in inversions, headstands, arm balances outside of the grass because grass is so much softer. So right now it's not a good idea because there's snow, although that might be helpful too. The snow might be cushioning, but that's my suggestion for getting from the wall to the middle of the room. Okay, let's do one more thing before we end the video. This is my advanced drills for building up core strength, for doing crazy things like L-sits or Lolasana or jump backs or handstands or any of the poses, any of the arm balances that require you to use so much of that core, like crow or crane or TT Basana, firefly. So let's get into it. This is the one where you're going to need your blocks. So let's start with one block. Actually, let's start with Lolasana prep. Lolasana is the posture you come into when you do a jump back from seated like this, into your chaturanga. So you're going to take your blocks. Actually, let's first not even use blocks. Let's first just do on the ground. So when you get yourself ready to come into a jump back, also I'm not very good at teaching jump backs, and I do not practice them myself right now because I have a shoulder injury that has been a result of doing jump backs improperly. But I want to teach you the drills to build up the core strength in order to eventually be able to do them. So let's do that. So coming into your Dandasana, your staff pose. Basically, we're just going to pick up both of the legs, cross them at the ankle, and draw the knees into the chest. Draw them in as close as you can and squeeze. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. You shouldn't even be using your hands here. Just squeeze. Feel all that muscle engagement, all the psoas muscle engagement that we've been working on. Feel it. Feel it. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Nice and tight. Tight little ball. And then let go. Cross the legs the other way. Let's do that again. Draw the knees into the chest. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Keep squeezing. Feel the engagement. And release. So you can do that a couple times, just building up that strength of drawing the knees into the chest. That in itself will help you with your crow, will help you with your L-sits, will help you with your any of those poses where you're basically using your core to pull you in. Now, one thing I want to show you in these postures, I'm not doing it with a flat back. I'm really rounded here. And this is because I'm using all of the muscles in my front body, I'm contracting them to pull myself in and create this solid foundation. I don't really need my back for this one. And because I'm coming into a nice rounded posture, my spine is okay. And my head isn't super tucked, so I know that I'm not going to injure my neck or my low back. So you're basically just rounding the body and pulling everything into the middle. Once you have that, you can practice the next one. So you may want to use blocks for this one if you want a little bit more space, basically. So you'll have the props right next to your hip. It works better if you're not on the edge of your mat like this, where you've got more foundation. We'll start on the bottom level here. And basically what we're going to do is draw the knees into the chest, press the feet down onto the floor, and pick up our hips while still squeezing into the body. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Now you notice we're starting to engage the muscles of the upper back. And remember how we did those nice drills with our upper body, the push-ups and the dolphin pose. Now you can see how they come into play, because now we're pushing, creating that space so that we can get our legs close to our body. So let's do it again. Cross the feet the other way. Inhale and exhale. Press, 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 press. Now you're pressing with your hands and you're squeezing into your chest. You shouldn't be putting too much weight into your feet. You can use them to help you get up, but once you get there, press into your hands. Okay? Maybe you want to try on a higher level. Cross the feet the other way. Inhale, press up, lift, and maybe you can lift your feet. Maybe you can just float and hold there. Hold, hold, hold. Oof, let go. Again, I'm not really good at these, so my legs don't like to come into my chest very far. Still working on that core strength, but it's something that we can work on together. Try it the other way. Cross both of your legs. Squeeze into your chest and lift. Lift, lift, lift. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And lower. Whew. And you can lengthen your legs, maybe shake them out if you want to windshield wiper your legs back and forth, just to loosen up those muscles, the psoas muscles. And then the next level is actually without the blocks. Push those away. Just the hands on the mat. Draw the knees into the chest, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Inhale and lift. So you should be able to lift yourself off the floor. Whew, I can't hold that for very long, but it's a really good drill for building that strength. Try it again, legs other way, squeeze into the chest, lift. And come back down. Okay, that's enough of that. So that's a really good drill to practice if you're working on your crow or any of those postures that require you to bring the knees into the chest. All right, I got a couple more. Okay. This one here is killer. I love it. Love it. It's great for working on your strength. Your psoas strength. Everything in your muscle, in your hip. So you need one block for the first one. And we're just going to, actually let's start without the block. And I'll face this way. Come into your Dandasana, and you want your hands a little bit behind you because the tendency will be to roll back so that you can pick up your legs. We don't want to do that. Let's just start by lifting. Lift. And that's already difficult. Okay? Try to keep your back flat. That's why we've got our hands here, to try to keep that back flat. It's really hard to do it with your hands on your hips. You don't have to go very high, but we're just waking up the muscles, all these muscles here that help to lift the femur. Lift. Okay, once you're comfortable with that, then you can add the block. This one creates a lift and an external rotation of the leg. So you basically lift and draw it over. Lift and draw it back. Lift and over. Lift and back. And you do with the other leg. Lift. Drawing those circles. Now you can do it with your foot flexed or pointed. Really doesn't matter. I feel like if you do it with your foot flexed, dorsiflexion, get a little more engagement in the quad, which can be helpful for poses like your Padangustasana, which is the standing big hand to toe, where you kind of do the whole little whoop whoop. Yes, that is a technical noise. And then you can maybe do 2 blocks, do like a little training thing. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. When you're sick of that leg, move them over. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Trying to keep that back flat. It's going to be hard. Your body's going to want to use the core to draw that in. But what we're working on is that little, well, it's not little, it's quite huge. Hip flexor muscle. And then when you're ready for a challenge, put both legs on the outside, both blocks on the outside of both legs, and try to do, I have to use my hands forward for this one. Both legs at the same time. Whew. Yep. That'll wake you up in the morning. Okay, and your quads are probably gonna cry because they're not used to this kind of engagement, but you can build that strength really quickly. So this is a really good drill to practice if you want to work on your L-sit or any of those poses where you're holding that leg up without your hands. Okay, then the next one, prepping for your L-sit. So how are we going to do this one? Let's just start by doing a nice little L-sit prep. So I like to do this one coming into a reverse tabletop. So if you don't know how to do reverse tabletop, just bringing your arms basically where you think your shoulders are going to be. I have extremely poor shoulder mobility, again because of that injury, so my shoulders don't extend very far back. You're just going to press into your feet, lift your hips. Okay, so you're coming into that nice tabletop. It doesn't have to be perfect right now because we're going to be moving. And then basically just draw the hips back through the arms, roll onto your heels, and come into your L sit. Oops, my hands are too close together. Come forward, come back, roll onto your heels. So your hips are still up here. Okay? We're just finding that engagement that we need in our legs, in our core. And this is a really nice one to do if you are just trying to loosen up your hips and your shoulders. Okay, so there's your first one. The next one, a little bit more tricky. You start in your Dandasana and you're just picking up your hips, drawing your legs as close to your chest as you can. Pressing into those shoulders. Again, finding that nice solid foundation in your shoulders and lifting your hips. And then when you're ready, you can maybe try it with some blocks. Lift. So in this pose, we are using a lot of our upper body and we're trying to get our legs in. So when you get to that top piece, try to pull the legs into the body. And try not to arch your neck too much. I notice I'm doing that. Try to keep your head up. You can do it different levels. I'm not going to show you that. I cannot do a full L sit right now. Eventually I will. And you'll probably do it with the blocks. Prepping yourself. I like to prep myself by bringing myself into my legs first. Having my blocks right next to my legs. Take an inhale. Exhale, lift. Oof. And your quads probably are not going to like that. So once you've done that, you can just windshield wiper your legs back and forth. Again, I don't do L sit very often, if ever. It's not in my practices, and it's not something I'm working on right now, so I just wanted to demonstrate what it would look like. The other one I really like to do is with the legs apart. So having your legs wide apart. So many different versions you can do here. Oh, so you can kind of see me. I'm not going to use the blocks for this one, but you can use your blocks in the same way. You can start by bringing your hands to the outside of one leg and just pressing into your hands, lifting your hips, bringing them down, other leg, lifting your hips, bringing them down, bringing them to the outside of your hips, lifting, bringing down, and then finally into the middle, lift and down. So I'm not getting a lot of air in these postures. Again, I don't have a lot of that core strength. But this one here is a good one to use for prepping for your Titubasana, your firefly pose, or any of the poses where you've kind of got an external rotation of the hip. Okay. Now that we're sufficiently tired and warm and all sorts of stretchy and strengthened, let's just take a few minutes to stretch ourselves out because we did a lot of muscle engagement today. I want to do just a little cool down just so that we're not stiff and sore the next, well, as stiff and sore the next day. So let's start, I'm going to move my mat back. Let's start in a nice lunge since we did so much of that hip flexion, that deep hip flexor muscle, focused on the psoas and the iliacus. Let's stretch those out. So just find your way into a low lunge. You can have your foot tucked or you can have your foot flat on the mat. Find a comfortable position. You're going to come up and you might be almost all straight over your knee. I want you to push into that front hip. Basically like you're tucking your tailbone down and you're pushing that hip forward. And while we're here, let's bring our right arm forward, draw it across the chest, Just wrap our arm around and draw that shoulder down, coming into a nice stretch for the muscles that attach to the scapula on the right side. And take some nice deep breaths. You can also do this just sitting down for your upper body if you can't coordinate both of them at the same time. Okay, release that. We're going to do a little bit of a quad stretch. So if you need to have a little bit more cushion under your knee, please feel free to do so. You can either do it this way or you can do it standing. I'm going to do it on the floor. So I like to roll forward so that I'm on in front of my kneecap before I pick my knee up, because my kneecaps are very sensitive. And then just reach back, hold on to that foot, come into that nice deep, oh yeah, quad stretch. Remember, pushing that hip forward. If we're leaning like this, you're not really getting a stretch. So push, tuck the tailbone. Ooh, lost my balance. That's okay. We're going to switch to the other side. So coming into the other side, into that nice lunge position. Just come into that nice deep hip flexor stretch on the left side. Once you find that nice stretch, you can bring the left arm forward, cross it over the body, and draw it into the chest, dropping that shoulder down. Nice deep breaths into the back body. So you're probably going to feel very, very sore in your hips, hip flexors tomorrow, especially if you haven't done these drills before. Totally normal. Your psoas is very fussy. If you don't use it and you don't work on it, it starts to lose its strength quickly. And then when you do work it, it gets grumpy. But it recovers quickly and it strengthens quickly. So that's a good thing. Okay, we'll do that quad stretch on this side. So again, roll forward if you need to pick up the back foot. Grab onto the foot and just come into that nice deep quad stretch. So again, we're not focusing on so much as drawing the foot towards the hip, but pushing that hip forward at the same time. Breathe here. Okay, and then release the foot. Let's come down onto our knees. If you'd rather do this pose in a seated position, you can do so. We're going to come into a Gomukhasana arms, or eagle arms actually. So crossing the left arm underneath the right, either coming with the back of the palms touching, or you can tuck the hands if you can. Inhale. As you exhale, gently round the upper back, dropping the head, feeling that stretch through the mid, back, and a little bit through the upper back. Ooh, that should feel really nice after doing all that headstand work. Be very gentle here. We're coming into quite a deep flexion of the upper spine. So we just want to be very, very mindful of the movement of the vertebra here. One more inhale into the back body. Exhale. Inhale, gently draw yourself back up. Let the arms unravel and then just ravel them the opposite way. So the right arm is underneath the left elbow. Again, back of the palms can come together, or you can bind the arms. Inhale. And again, exhale, gently rounding the upper back. Coming into that nice, deep thoracic stretch. So we're not actually stretching the thoracic spine, we're stretching the muscles all along the spine. The erector spinae, a little bit of the lats, maybe some of your rhomboid muscle in the lower half. Again, being mindful here, what you're feeling. And then one more inhale. Exhale. On an inhale, draw yourself back up. Release. We'll do one more stretch to counteract that. You can have the hands behind the back, clasped together, or you can just clasp onto opposite elbows. Inhale to extend the arms if your hands are clasped, and just press the heart forward, looking up. That should feel really nice after doing all of that scapula engagement. One more inhale. And exhale, release. Letting your hands just rest on your thighs here for a minute. Just taking a minute to notice any other parts in the body that feel tight that you may want to stretch. Let's take one more inhale. And exhale. You can open the eyes if you've closed them. And I just want to take a moment to thank you for spending some time with me, learning some drills that will hopefully help you to build up some strength to eventually land some of these postures that you maybe have been working on for a while. Maybe feel like you're struggling with. You say, oh, I don't know if I can do it. I don't have the body type. I don't have this or that, the flexibility. Most of the time, it's just your strength. So you just need to work on it. Be patient, consistency, practice. Just practice, right? That's what yoga is. Yoga is practice. So if you have any questions for me about this class, about any of the postures, any of the drills, the movements that we did, please feel free to reach out to me. You can email me or message me on Instagram, and I would be happy to chat with you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this class, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you.